Welcome back to the audience. Good morning and welcome back to MRO Business. 2 years ago, I've been sitting in the audience at Project Flow in San Francisco, and I learned about uncertainties in projects and something like buffer management and clear priorities, and how this set of rules can help to manage projects better, more efficient in an environment of high uncertainty. When we came back to Frankfurt, we were pretty sure that CCPM, who provides these rules, can help us, can be of high value to our operations in Frankfurt. So we thought, let's get in realization and start the whole thing. Over the next 2 years, realization showed that they really know how to handle uncertainties in a sales project, because it took us until this year, August, to finally start our own implementation. Over all this time, we received quite a lot of help. So I would like to use the chance here to say thank you very much to Sridhar for being patient with us. Thanks to Menno Graaf for kickstarting the project in August. Thanks to Milan for being flexible. And thanks to Avi Garg, who is now in Frankfurt, making sure that what we achieved until today is not falling together while we are enjoying the Californian sun. Furthermore, there have been other people who helped us as well, and their help has been of high value. So I would like to thank Mr. David Mann from the U.S. Air Force in Salt Lake City and Mr. Colonel Berg from Warner Robins. They allowed us to come by, have a close look at their facilities and their solution for CCPM. Furthermore, Mr. Joe McDermott from Delta Tech Ops allowed us to have a close look at the solution in an especially critical phase of their transformation. It was really, really helpful to come there. I guess if you guys wouldn't have let us in, I wouldn't be standing here now. So what am I going to talk about is, first of all, what is LTMI? What is Lufthansa Technik Maintenance International? What did we change so far? And what is the current status of our implementation, and which will be the next steps to go? As the name implies, Lufthansa Technik is part of the Lufthansa Group, where we have 5 business divisions. Starting with the airline, of course, Deutsche Lufthansa and some partner airlines. Then we have a segment for logistics called Lufthansa Cargo. We have the catering, LSG Sky Chefs, and finally IT services called Lufthansa Systems. In between, Lufthansa Technik as one of the leading suppliers of aircraft maintenance solutions and engineering services, which is located in Hamburg and Frankfurt. Within Lufthansa Technik, we will find 6 product divisions. We have the VIP jets, who do all these rockstar airplanes, political airplanes and stuff like that. We have landing gear services, engine services, and aircraft component services. And they all provide their products to the remaining business divisions of aircraft base maintenance, as well as aircraft maintenance services. This is located in Frankfurt, and it's separated in 2 organizations. On the one side, we have a dedicated maintenance for Lufthansa Technik, and on the other side, we finally have Lufthansa Technik Maintenance International, which is dedicated for Lufthansa Cargo as well as all non-Lufthansa customers. The 900 employees, roughly 900 to 1,000 employees of LTMI provide several products. One of them is the so-called TOM product, Total Operations Management, and it's like an integrated management service for companies who build up their own maintenance facilities. It's connected to the next product, home-based maintenance, which usually starts with a personal assignment where we send highly qualified aircraft engineers to a home base of a customer. And of course, we provide an IT solution software toolbox called ManageM that supports companies running a maintenance system. The core of these 3 products is built up by some core elements of aircraft maintenance. One of them is MMS and MSS services, which is the continuous airworthiness management. We set up maintenance schedules, we print, we write job cards, we write engineering orders, all you need to keep your aircraft in the air and not too long on the ground. And finally, of course, the line and base maintenance, which will be of further interest. In the line and base maintenance, it is located in Frankfurt. We have about 400 mechanics, and they work on 2 separated production divisions. One of them is dedicated to Lufthansa Cargo, which we consider to be a highly integrated customer. We run all the management schedule, we track parts, we create job cards, we take care of the maintenance planning and disposition of the whole fleet, and therefore have a quite good influence on which kind of work should be done when. Furthermore, we have non-Lufthansa customers, and they range from highly integrated customers to just one-stop-over customers who come by for just one event, where we don't have too much possibility to touch the job cards, to touch the maintenance schedule, or even know which problems the aircraft will bring. We provide these products for a wide range of capabilities, which we mostly built up in the last 3 to 4 years. Before that, we were more concentrated, but I will come back to this on the next slide. And of course, we're getting ready for new aircraft types as well, 787, 747-8, and A350. So where are we running projects in this environment, in this highly uncertain environment or variable environment, is on so-called A checks. They run on 1 to 2, maybe sometimes 3 days, just a few shifts, up to maybe 500 man-hours, but not more. We have C checks. We already learned about that this morning. They go over a wider range of, let's say, starting with 5 days for Lufthansa Cargo, up to 3 to maybe even 4 weeks, which is a more complex project. And of course, we do all kinds of modifications, landing gear changes, engine changes, and so on. So why did we have to change anything at all? Why did we start doing something or worrying about how we should set up our processes better? In between 2008 and 2009, we lost one other highly integrated customer. And of course, we wanted to regain the revenue. We wanted to refill our hangar with work. But we found out in the market is no other customer who is willing to give his whole fleet at the location Frankfurt in our hands. So we had to get in other business, run by business, more aircraft types, and of course this was only available for a far lower man-hour price than we could achieve with our highly integrated customers. So we had to find out a way how we can lower our prices, and we try to do this by increase the output of our existing capacities. So how did we try to do that? First of all, we had to reorganize our internal processes, and we did some value stream designing and went through all the line of processes, starting with acquisition over the offer, the preparation processes, which is highly important for calm and smooth production, the production, after production, and invoicing. The problem with value stream design, of course, is that it's targeting more something like a static bottleneck, and not, as we learned from Travis yesterday, the moving bottlenecks or constraints we have in projects. Furthermore, you end up pretty quickly, when you do some classic lean, I guess, with implementing takt times or fixed time models for certain process steps. And as we learned in the beginner's workshop yesterday, this can end up in adding a lot of safety to the system and therefore creating a lot of waste. So we adopted our value stream design and said, for the planning and steering of projects, we want to implement CCPM as the major idea, as the major logic that will drive our projects and will help us to expose the real constraints, which is mostly management capacity. And it's not so much the department head, it's more the C-check coordinators, the work group leads, which are spreading thin over the projects, and of course qualified mechanics. These constraints should be exploited, and we try to not further overload them. In the end, we finally wanted to focus the entire organization on clear priorities, on the real problems that we have while running a problem. So the total solution design was set for 2 different levels of our system. First of all, we said we want to implement low WIP on something like a hangar level between checks, and want to get clear priorities, which check is the important one, where should we put our spare resources that we have for a day or maybe for a week. Therefore, we try to implement low WIP as a major rule to allocate our resources. Then we said, at least within the broader checks, we want to implement the CCPM rules as well. So we set up low WIP networks for C checks. We even started trying run concerto during a check, get clear ideas about the buffer consumption, and therefore find ideas about the real priorities, and feed our issue resolution process. Of course, this all just works when I have a closed system, like dedicated people, personnel that can work under the set of these rules. Still, we do some ramp business as well, and as all the MRO guys know, ramp business is always on highest priority. Whenever there's an aircraft at the gate and there's a problem, you would take everyone out of the hangar, send them to the aircraft and let it fix. It needs to fly away, there are passengers waiting or even cargo stuff waiting, and it needs to be carried away. So if we wanted to stabilize our hangar business, we needed to find something like a safety barrier, a valve that helps us to keep the system running under the CCPM rules, and it will most probably be something like a highly qualified personnel pool, which is shown in that circle over there. So to come from theory to more operational stuff, first of all, we had to find out what is actually high WIP for our operations, what is too much for our system. And we had a close look and we said, in the current system, we usually have maybe one C-check, maybe two C-checks, sometimes the next one was already waiting outside. And while we are working on such a big project, we get in all kinds of A-checks at a time, 3, 4 a week, maybe a landing gear change in between. And what we saw was that people were spreading thin, were moved around between projects wherever someone, maybe a key account, maybe a really loud crying coordinator said, here's the highest priority. So of course we found out what everyone more or less finds out. We had too much work in progress, and our people spread it thin and got really frustrated overall as well. So we did some calculations and we said what could be healthy for our system is we can actually only allow one C-check at a time and maybe 2 A-checks parallel to that C-check, or let's say 2 A-checks in 1 week. So what we're going to do is we run the C-check, and whenever an A-check is coming in, we put the C-check on full stop, move everyone to the A-check, get it done quickly, as quick as possible, and move people back to the C-check. By that, we already, although you cannot see that on this graphic, we already gained some time and got things done pretty fast. But to get the full benefit of CCPM, we said we need to implement the rules for the check itself as well. What you see there, I hope you can read it a little bit, is a typical project plan, how we run a maintenance event. We start on almost every work group, do some inspection and repair parallelly, try to fix issues and get material to the board, get engineers to the aircraft, get everything done at the same time, and of course that doesn't work. We don't have so many qualified engineers, we don't have so many qualified work group leads that you can get things done in a quick way. Therefore, we saw we have a lot of waiting time for our normal mechanics. They're not standing around all the time, but they used to be waiting for help, trying to find parts, trying to find documents or help to fulfill their tasks. So by starting everything at a time, we created a lot of waste. What we did else was we had a lot of planning going on. We tried to exactly plan every day. And this is, of course, moving all the time as problems occur day by day. Your plan changes every day, and you have to replan. You have to get people in, send them back home, get them back in, and it's causing a lot of chaos and frustration as well. So what we did was we did the same Tetris plan as Daiwa House and tried to set up a low WIP working plan for our C-checks. It starts, it's not shown on here, with a full kit 1, where we try to prepare everything that we know is going to happen at the aircraft. We get all the material, we get all the documents, and that was an important step of learning that it's important to be well prepared for a check. We didn't have that before. Then we said we're going to separate depaneling and inspection, and of course learn what else should be done at the aircraft to get it back airworthy into the air. In between, we see the yellow one. I don't know if you can read it. It's the full kit 2 phase. In the full kit 2 phase, we finally decide how do we organize the rest of the check. Where should we start? Where are the critical items? And within a certain time frame of this full kit 2 phase, which might be half a day, probably not much longer. We try to get all the material that we need for the non-routine work that we found in the dependent inspection phase. So to keep this system running and to let's say, force the people into a new system of running, of managing a check, we set up a pretty easy meeting and walk-around schedule, which is today run twice a day during the shifts. Furthermore, we decided to plan with stable capacities, so we will have stable capacities all over the time in every shift. We will have a certain amount of work group leads, we will have a certain amount of C-check coordinators who are dedicated to a check. So what is the current situation? What did we achieve so far? As I said, we only started in August 5th, in mid of August, which is 6 to 7 weeks until now. We completed 2 full C-checks for non-Lufthansa customers. The third check is actually in progress, is in preparation right now. And we are still missing a low whip plan solution for A-checks, which we could put into Concerto, and then an idea how to transfer the whole idea, the whole system on the Lufthansa Cargo production unit. Still, we had for us, pretty impressive results already. So what have been the challenges? Of course, in our European norms, we have a certain amount of qualified mechanics which are needed to do certain tasks in our system. And it's especially hard to keep whip low for them. Still, of course, we want to train them. So on the one side, we try to put low whip on them. On the other side, we try to get them out of the system to train them. So that's quite a challenge today. Then, of course, we need to communicate to our customer. When you imagine to have a C-check and you come to our hangar and we tell you on the 3rd day, now we have a full stop for 1.5 days, you probably go crazy. So we have to find a way how to explain in easy words and in easy way what are we doing, what is our new production system. Still, the first feedback was quite positive. And then finally, we need to fill up our pipeline. We need to use a more variable pricing model. We need to understand that we can now create more output, that we can lower our prices and become efficient by getting in more work. Without that further workload, it will be really hard to get an improvement in revenue. So the lessons learned and next steps. Of course, we saw task preparation is highly important. It's not only important in the pre-check phase, but as well during the check in the full kit 2 phase, and sometimes ongoing between days. We saw it's really important to keep capacity stable, to not try to steer the system by many kinds of rules, but keep capacity stable and rely on CCPM rules. As well, we learned, of course, forecasting does not really work in an uncertain environment. The next steps, therefore, will be we need to fill up our pipeline. We need to get in more work. We are pretty confident that it will work out. We need to align the pre-production processes, put them on A-checks as well, put a full kit 1 process on for A-check as well, and then make sure that we don't overload our preparation department. Because, of course, WIP will increase for them when they do preparation for all these checks which should be coming into the hangar. And we will therefore probably increase the solution and maybe even the Concerto solution for our preparation processes. And then finally, we want to roll out on Lufthansa Cargo as well. To sum it up, at the end, the initial situation was clear. We had too many planes in progress and not enough time to really prepare to focus on the problems in the hangar or even in preparation and to have a good issue resolution process. As a result, our mechanics were really poorly used. We did some shift surveys and found out that we just get 30% of their working time, make them work at the aircraft. And the rest of the time they were looking for documents, material, tools, or doing other stuff. Within the solution, we find a way to set up uniform priorities. We put in the low whip rule. We installed a full kitting process and are now trying to get the buffer management run throughout the hangar. The results are already pretty satisfying, but hopefully will get even better. So we completed 2 C-checks 15 to 20% faster. We had some A-checks in between this time as well, and they were really good. Some of them were even faster as well. We improved our mechanics utilization up to 45% now, and I guess there's some air in there still that we can get. And last but not least, and really important, especially in our situation after all this change, losing one of our integrated customers, getting in all this uncertainty and high variability, we increased our worker satisfaction. So the direct feedback after the first two concerto or CCPM checks was that people went home and said, it was good to work here today. I was happy coming here, and go on with that program.